Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Realm of Ori. In this video, we will continue with Volume 13, Chapter 1 Unrest and Resolve, Part 1. And before we start, this video contains spoilers from the anime and manga series. And by the way guys, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon to get notifications for upcoming videos. So without further ado, let's get into the video. A month has passed since the gathered executives had met. Today, I was also in the control room monitoring the movements of the Empire. Since this was the staging ground for all of our intelligence, Benimaru and I could practically say we moved in here. If left unattended, this would likely turn into a secret base for Veldora and Ramirez. It was a place I had been building for a long time, and had put to good use. At first they were excited that the war was about to start, but when it turned out that there was no movement after a month, they looked as if they were completely tired of everything. By now they had returned to their research and were saying capricious things, telling us to just wait for something to happen before notifying them. So that's the situation. The only group of people here at the moment were me, Benimaru, and Sue. Then, there were my secretaries, Shion and Diablo. I also can't forget the other number one, Geld, who was there too. However, it kept some other projects at a standstill, which made me sad. But in the end, it's up to the opponent to make the first move. It was originally thought that the Imperial Magic Tank Force would attack in almost 20 days or so, but the invasion turned out to be slower than expected. It should be said that they were deliberately slowing down and making a deliberate show of their majesty when they entered. It also seemed likely that the Imperial side would persuade us to surrender and hold off on attacking for the time being until that moment comes. I think the other side is naive, but we're not ready for that either. It should be a showdown afterwards anyway, so there's no need for us to sneak around. I was relieved that preparations for war against the Empire could indeed be made. Immediately following, the days that we had been waiting were finally coming to an end. The Imperial side had stopped and started to lay out their formations. The Imperial army was not stupid either. It seems that they had no intention of fighting us squarely from the beginning. Other than the magic tank units, the other infantry squads were marching towards the forest one after another. The total number was about 70% of the entire strength of the Empire, up to 700,000. Looks like this is their main force. Should be. While using the magic tank force as a front, the real purpose is actually to suppress the Dwarven Legion, right? So it seems. Is it to avoid being pinned from behind in an attack on our country? It is clear that such a large army is well prepared, but they are still very careful in their actions. It's just that the other side's attempts have already reached us. With intelligence, we can accumulate so many advantages. Kufufufufu. It's true, Lord Rimuru. Everything is under your control, that's how it is. Diablo came over to us and was about to do that whole Lord Rimuru is the best thing. I'd gotten used to it, so I just nodded and said, I guess. As for that group of Imperial infantry, we seem to underestimate each other's threatening nature a bit. It seems that all of them are quite skilled, and none of them could keep up with the others and went to gather at a place 30 kilometers away from the capital, Rimuru. They camped there, and set up command posts. It's unnatural, isn't it, that we don't react when we're all close to each other's throats? No, not necessarily. Those guys believe that they are better than us and believe that their actions have gone completely unnoticed by us. They've underestimated us and must be preparing to act immediately after persuading us to surrender. Kufufufufu. I think so too. I would like to add to Benimaru's comment that this 30 kilometers is a wonderful distance. If it is monitored by magic, the farther away the accuracy decreases. Combined with the magic used to unleash interference through Legion magic, that area would be completely turned into a safe zone. The other side should believe that they can do that. But the funny thing is, I think that's all those guys can do. By the way, Sue, how strong are the enemy soldiers? From an average evaluation, any grade that translates into human terms is equivalent to AB grade. There is no shortage of people in the upper echelons who are above A, and those in the lower echelons who are not below C+. Even when compared to the knights of the Western countries, they seem to be very good. While this is true, but the power of the group as a whole still cannot be underestimated. And there are absolutely no casual drafters among them, all of them are professional soldiers? Yes. They are well trained and considered the quality of their weapons and defenses, coupled with their tactics, each of which seemed to surpass the order of the Western powers. Even with Benimaru and his Black Flame Jail, it might still be difficult to penetrate those guys' magic defense. But it should be fine. That's the reason for using the maze. Kufufufufu. Just let them spread out within the maze and easily break through before the enemy could fully muster their strength. Everything is as Lord Rimuru has predicted, that's how it is. But in the end, it was the right choice to launch an attack inside the labyrinth, but depending on the enemy's strength. Wait, it will prevent the town from suffering, and will also make it easier for the war to move in our favor. Standing in the position of commanding an army, the last thing I want is to make an enemy of her. We shouldn't have any problems on our side, but we don't know what's going on with Gobta and the others. There were several big screens in the control room, and my magic was shining through them. And of course there was a broadcast of the scene near the Dwarven kingdom above. There were 2,000 magic tanks lined up neatly. Gobta and Gabble led their respective legions in their mission. The occasional battle with the enemy was not frequent, and the people who stayed in the hotel town took refuge. The two army chiefs, Gobta and Gabble, have entered the Dwarven kingdom. Either way, it's a matter of fighting with each other, and the other side is not taking away our command. Gazel had already promised this, so I wasn't worried, and it looked like the military units of the Dwarven kingdom had indeed kept their word. That should make it all right. Although there is still some unease about us joining forces with the Dwarven army, but as long as we let Tempest attack and ask the Dwarven army to take over the defensive duties thoroughly, there should be no problem. Confusion in the chain of command is a problem in military operations. In order for legions of different nationalities to join forces to fight, as they did this time, it must first be decided which side of the order will take precedence. Just to be on the safe side, maybe it's better to talk to Gazel again. That's true. Now that the Empire has been laid out, it won't be long before the war begins. It's almost time for us to get on the battlefield, so we'd better get in touch with King Gazel and make a final confirmation. It looks like Benimaru agreed with me. With that in mind, I hurriedly reached for the newly set contact device. Hello, I'm Rimuru. Is His Majesty Gazel here? Hello, this is for His Majesty Gazel. Could you please wait on the line for a moment? Okay, it's rude to ask Lord Rimuru to wait. Personally, I don't think I need to rely on this kind of thing, I just need to meet directly through space transfer. Why don't you bring King Gazel here? This time it was me who sought out Gazel without an appointment, and it was me who was to blame. It's hard not to panic when Rimuru-sama is suddenly talking to them. I sympathize with the person in charge. Hearing Geld say that, I wished Xian and Diablo could emulate him. Waiting less than 3 minutes, Gazel responded. I've kept you waiting. I was thinking that it was about time to contact you, too. That's great. I'm looking for you to make a final confirmation of the sharing of tasks in a joint fight. It's also important, but before that, let me tell you one thing. Our gate to the east of the city of Dwargon has been blocked by the Imperial Army. It was just like Gadra said. This was the legion led by Yuki. I have captured the image. I'll pass it on to you. I aimed the Argos at the Empire's territory. In addition to the distance, there was also the magical obstruction caused by the barrier, and those images were not very distinct. Even so, it was possible to see a certain group blocking off the street that stretched out from east. Just like you said, when I heard that the enemy would rebel, I suspected that it was a trap, so it seemed more or less credible. No, not necessarily. Gadra may have been disillusioned with the Empire, but we still couldn't trust the guy 100%. And sometimes he can be taken advantage of without realizing it, so it's best not to take it lightly. Well, that's a good one. Just because you can see that, that's a big deal. We have sent emissaries to the Empire, but they seem to be talking him out of it. We in Dwargon, by law, use preemptive attacks as a last resort. As detrimental as that was, as long as it was still a day of Dwarven pride, we would have to wait for the Empire to strike. And you don't have to go along with this. What are your plans? I looked over to Benimaru. Immediately afterwards, Benimaru also smiled and looked back at me with those eyes. Communicating without words, we already understood what the other meant. The Imperial Army has invaded our territory without our consent. This must not sit idly by, and my country even intends to resort to military means and consider a strong response. That's why I wanted to check with our allies, your country, beforehand, to see if you'd like to follow suit. That's about all there is to say. Benimaru looked satisfied. Xian nodded her head. Geld shivered with excitement, and Diablo was all gleeful.